To create this text highlight effect in Cavalry, we can start by alt-clicking this button to add some text, and then on the left we can align it on both axes, as well as changing the font to whatever you want. In this case I'm using Interdisplay, and then I set it on the light version. Now for adding your text, you obviously want to select your own text, but I just have this placeholder text right here. And you can see it's just one single line if it's a lot of text. To fix this, we can disable this button right here and then manually adjust the text box size width. And for this, I think a width of around 1500 is good, but it's not centered anymore. So we can go up into the position, and then we can take that 1500, and actually it needs to be in minus and then divide it by 2. And now it's centered. Before we can create this highlight effect, let's go ahead and add some color to this project. So I have this blue right here that I'm gonna drag into the backdrop. And then for the text itself, we can go into the fill tab here and then drag a little darker blue into it. And this will sort of act as the default color, and then we're gonna make it white when the cursor moves over it. But before moving on, we need to add a deformer to this text object called submesh, which will sort of access the individual letters inside of this one text object. And we can see we have this falloffs, and if we can add a falloff, and this will make it so that changes that are made to the submesh are only inside of this one circle. So you can see if we change the scale here by holding Alt and dragging, it'll only scale inside of the circle, which will give this nice effect. And we can also do this with color. Now to adjust the color based on this falloff, we can go into the fill tab of the submesh and then replace fill. And this first color we have up here, we actually want that to be the base darker color again. But down here we can see fill overrides, and the smart thing about that is we can add the color material overrides. And inside of that we have the ability to add the falloff. And for this, we don't want to add a new falloff, but we can instead just drag in the existing falloff. And now you can see we can actually change the color here, and we will start to see the effect we want. But we can change the falloff size here to something like 350 by maybe 185. And then lastly, we can add an image of a cursor or anything you want to indicate as sort of the pointer for this highlight effect. And we can drag that to the top of the layer panel and then maybe adjust the pivot a bit to make it so that it's not in the complete center of the highlight. And lastly, we can drag in the falloff in that cursor image and then lock the layer so that we don't accidentally drag on the falloff, but only on the cursor. Now for animating this thing, we can go into the composition settings, set the frame rate to 60, and then add a few keyframes to the position of the cursor, move the playhead, and then we can just drag the cursor to the end position and it'll automatically add a keyframe there. Going into the graph editor, we can highlight all keyframes, hit Shift 2 to add some easing. And lastly, we can also add some motion blur and set it to full here on the cursor, and then click this button to enable it for the scene. And right now it's not too strong, so we can go into the composition settings and then increase the shutter angle to maybe 250 to make it a little more strong. Now, if you'd like to improve your Cavalry skills even more, I have a challenge for you. Try to create this effect combining what you learned about colors from this video with what I teach in my latest video. Go check it out here.